apologies for my voice and my slow-wittedness here. I've been up since 4 because I was attending a European conference, so 4 a.m. my time. So, all right, cool. Looks like we got a few people in. Let's get started here. Um, welcome to the Kargo monthly community meeting here. As always, we encourage everyone to participate, to ask questions, but be sure to follow our code of conduct. So if you're curious about our code of conduct here, it is linked in the doc. So I'm gonna, I think I'll share this again here in case someone dropped in a little late. Be sure to add your name, where you're from, um, and read the code of conduct if you haven't already. Uh, so we have a agenda here. I'm gonna actually gonna talk about Kargo with OCI integration. I had a meeting with a few engineers and a few internal people here, and we're talking about having OCI integration. So for those, the Open Container Initiative, where you're able to store artifacts in a repository, right? So specifically in a container repository, right, like Docker V2. And we're trying to figure out what that implementation may look like. Lots of opinions came out. And so I'll talk about that first a little bit, maybe solicit some I'll ask like some questions, maybe solicit some feedback here because we actually don't know what um we're kind of in that planning phases here. Nitish is going to talk about 1.4 updates. What was in 1.4 updates, and then Faeka here is going to talk about annotations for OCI, the integration, right? So it's gonna kind of flow a little bit that way. So as far as the OCI integration, we've been talking about how that looks like with Kargo, what the expectation is with Kargo, and where Kargo keeps its hand on or off of these um of these workflows, right? So OCI probably detecting OCI updates, like a container registry or like a Git repo or a Helm repo, kind of like how Kargo does it today, probably is a no-brainer, probably is going to happen. I think the conversation went to like, okay, what do we do with that change once we detect an OCI integration, right? I have opinions, I have strong opinions on it. But I understand that I'm curious to see what like other folks think about like how that looks like. For me, probably detecting a change in the OCI repository, and then telling Argo what version, that there was a change, right? And update the Argo CD manifest is probably the most straightforward, and probably the first iteration we're going to do. Meaning that once OCI support comes to Argo CD, we can then modify the Argo CD updates directly in the Argo CD application manifest, right? So, for instance, there's a new tag version of the OCI. We basically update that in the Argo CD YAML, essentially application YAML, to point to that newer version of OCI, right? And then at that point, Argo kind of takes over. Um, I think there is some loose expectations that um, the updates from like a Git repo um, will then render, like if you're using render manifest, will render that into an OCI repository. However, there's been some mixed opinions, and I can see argument either way on whether or not Kargo should actually write to an OCI repository, meaning that there's been opinions on like, well, rendering a manifest into an OCI repository, is that the responsibility of CI, or is that the responsibility of Kargo? And so I just wonder what for those if there's anyone on here that's using OCI that wants to use OCI with Kargo, what the expectation would be with respect to like what is that integration? Like if I tell you Kargo supports OCI, what does that mean to you? Like, well, what is that? If anyone, and feel free to use the raise the hand feature, or just write it in the chat. But if is there any like actual like opinions on OCI integration with Kargo? Open the floor here. And we could probably open up a discussion in the Kargo repository to do it asynchronously. I'll make a note of that. Actually, I'll put that as an action item for myself. Or I believe there's also a Git issue in that repo discussion. Also in the discussion, we talked about like OCI annotations, how there's like really no standard currently. I think everyone's following the Helm standard currently, just but by accident. And I think we're going to get pretty opinionated on that. I think Faeka has an update on that. So if there's no questions or any like feedback on that currently, that's fine. We can continue the discussion on Discord or on in the Git repository. So okay, cool. So unless there's any questions or any feedback on that, I'll pass it over to Nitish. Nitish has some Kargo 1.4 updates. Or is he on?
Hi, Christian. Am I audible?
Oh, yes. Yeah, we can hear you now. Yeah.
All right. Hi there, everyone. Let me just share my screen. I think I don't have the access permissions for screen sharing. Can you see? I got it. Yeah. All right. 1 second. Let me just quick share screen and just. All right. Is my screen visible? It looks like the screen is visible. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Hi there, everyone. My name is Nitish. I work at Akuity as a software engineer. I'm also an Argo CD maintainer. So we're talking about the Kargo version 1.4 updates. So there have been like a lot of improvements for the version 1.4. I have actually listed 3 of them, but if you want to take a look at all the new features, the bug fixes that have gone in the version 1.4, we'll be taking a look at that shortly. But some of the features that I personally would like to highlight is, first of all, the annotation support. So any annotations that you're going to associate with a container image, that can be actually accessed within your promotion processes using the expressions, using the Kargo expressions. So if you want to take a look at how these expressions written, you can probably go to the Kargo docs, and you can see how the expressions are generally written for that. Second update that we have for the version 1.4 is promotions actor metadata, which is about, we are also going to, this time we're also going to possibly tell you about the metadata about the person who eventually triggered a promotion is available through expressions. So what I want to say is that imagine that in your team member, someone actually triggered a promotion from one stage to another stage. You can get the metadata about that specific author who eventually did that. And you can basically through some sort of expressions, and then you can use that within your promotion processes if you would want to. Third update that we have for the Kargo version 1.4 is basically analysis runs logs via Kargo UI. So you already know that you can basically use analysis run to maybe run some sort of test if you would want to for your specific stages. However, so you would basically have some sort of job metrics that would eventually give you the flexibility to define any sort of test that you would like to run against a stage. So for example, if you have like dev stage prod state and would you like to run specific tests against those stages, you can eventually use the analysis run, or if you can also basically run those tests as a part of jobs. However, the main point that we eventually included as a part of this feature was eventually having those metrics for the jobs that are basically running those tests against a stage. So you can eventually now have those job metrics via Kargo UI itself. Again, this is generally like these are few things that I have updated for the Kargo version 1.4. A lot of things have been added, and I would highly recommend you going to the Kargo version 1.4. Angelica has done a pretty great job of writing this blog, so shout out to her for that. Apart from that, these are the changes that have been done so far. So you can obviously take a look at about what new things have been added for the version 1.4. And if you are basically new to Kargo, probably go to the Kargo, maybe try to play with it. And open source contributions are really welcome for that. And we're definitely looking for that. Again, if you have any questions, please reach out to us on the Discord and we'll be happy to answer your queries. Thank you.
All right, awesome. Any questions on that or any looks like there's some stuff in the chat, but if there's any questions, feel free to raise your hand here. Okay. Again, also you can just ask on the Discord here if there's any questions for Nitish. All right, next up we have Faeka talking about OCI annotations. So she got a presentation ready. So whenever you're ready, Faeka, go ahead.
Yeah, hey, hi folks. So I'll be mostly talking about the OCI annotations feature that we have added in Kargo's 1.4. And this feature particularly is about enriching the existing metadata that we used to have earlier, which was satisfied with Git repo URL. But now we have the OCI annotations, and why do we exactly need metadata is to trace the origin of container images. And what we mean by OCI annotation is these are the key value pairs, which basically links to all the license information and all the other information that users can use in order to have more information about their promotion process and stuff like that. So now developers often ask, where did this image come from, or what was the commit that was used to build this for? And that is where OCI annotation is helpful to answer all these questions. It will improve the visibility for debugging your promotion processes and a lot of things in your Kargo promotion process. And obviously it will enable a lot of automation and tooling. So the OCI annotation support, particularly that is added in 1.4, is something that now understands the OCI image annotation. And now it helps you to include all these annotation in the freight section itself. So Kargo makes these things very actionable by linking it directly to your source code repository. We'll see how that is done. Like for example, if you have a promotion step, and this is your freight timeline, which is where you can see the whole UI of that includes information about the annotations and also a deep link linking to the source code where the changes have happened. So this makes the user experience very much better, of course. And it supports two types of key annotations currently, which is the image source and image revisions, as you say, from open containers. And this will be used to show helpful links in the UI directly. Apart from that, as I've shown just right now, this is how the annotation seamlessly is. This will be in the freight timeline. And talking about how you add these annotation is via GitHub Actions or through Docker images. Now, this is one of the most common paths for adding annotations in your promotion process, which is by using the Docker metadata action, which is for auto-generating the annotations. And then you can also use, you can also pipe them directly into the Docker build push action. These are simple actions that you can add in your Docker file directly. And this is the most common path if you're using GitHub Actions to add annotations in, which is very effortless, I believe. Another way of adding it is obviously directly through Docker, which is adding it using the annotation flag, as you see here. And this is very much feasible for local development or custom pipeline. So this will give you the full control if you are using GitHub Actions, but you just have to grab some SHA and pass that over here. That was mostly it. But yeah, I think why it matters for Kargo users that we want to use Kargo OCI annotation is because it will help you to debug faster with a lot of commit level traceability, and any small changes or brings huge value to the team, right? So maintaining all these in the pipeline will help you itself. And it will also help developers to feel more connected to what is running in the production, as you can see directly in the promotion pipeline itself. That was majorly it. This is a very small change, but I think it brings great value to the team. And some other changes that we have done also after adding OCI annotation is we are deprecating the Git repo URL field, because now that the source URLs can directly be inferred from the image annotation field, this field seems to be redundant, and hence we will be deprecating this soon in 1.7.0. So that was it. And yeah, this will align majorly because we want to adopt OCI annotations in the future. I hope that was pretty clear. If you'll have any questions, let me know.
Yeah, is there I'll ask the first question here, but is there, or will there be, I guess, a complete list of the annotations we're gonna accept? And also will we have kind of like an example of like if you want to test this feature out, you know, annotate your OCI I guess payload or bundle with these specifically? Like are some of these I guess also the question is, are some of the annotations required and some of them are kind of like nice to have but not required? Are there like required ones, or are there ones that are nice to have but not required?
So from what I know is that we are currently supporting majorly these two annotations, key annotations. These are the list. And what we mean by the image.source is that it lets the URL of the Git repository where the image source code is living. And the other one that it is supporting is the specific SHA, which we use to build the image. But how Kargo particularly uses these is it adds the deep links in the UI under the freight section, as we saw. And that is, so these are the lists of it. But apart from that, if you, we also have a specific section, if more things are added there itself, it can be found directly under OCI annotations, which I believe is currently not there. But this is the link of open containers and all the annotations that it supports. And this can be found directly on the docs of Kargo.
Awesome.
Yeah, and speaking of examples, I think what we have is mostly here, and if in future we continue to support more, it should be added here.
Yeah.
Do we have any more questions about OCI annotations in particular?
See here. Cool. No questions. Yeah. Any questions for Faeka about OCI annotations? I get kind of also in the direction of kind of like where we're going with OCI support. Cool. All right. All right. Yeah. So now I guess there's no more agenda items here. Is there any questions here from, or any kind of like talking points from anyone in the community or anyone else they'd like to bring up? Cool. All right, going once. All right, going twice. All right, awesome, cool. All right, thank you everyone. Just to let you know, we do have these meetings once a month, right? So we have it at the last Wednesday of each month, at the same time here. We will be we have a calendar, a public calendar where you can subscribe to the public calendar. Angelica's been sharing that in the Discord channel. Eventually, we'll also have a meetup page set up, so to make it a little easier for reminders and to send out folks. You're always free to open up the community, the running community meeting document and add agenda items or discussion items for next meeting. So if you don't have anything now, but you think of something later, feel free to one, add the public calendar, and two, add agenda items for the next meeting. So that way, we'll have time set up for any discussion points. So again, we'll have all this information in Discord as well. But make sure you add things to the calendar. So add the calendar, public calendar, so you know when the next meeting is. And then use the community doc to write any questions that you may have, right? Again, also, we'll make an announcement on Discord when we have the meetup page set up, so that way, and by that time, we should have Kargo version 1.5 out, as which is kind of like a big-ish release, I guess, visually at least. Cool. All right, everyone. Thank you for attending. And I hope to see you next meeting. And if you have any questions, again, drop a line on the Discord. All right. Thank you, everyone.